Hi, it's me for the last time. So this is gonna be my final reflection for my Koh Tao service trip. Um, so it was a lot of fun. I really wish I could have stayed there longer. Throughout my interim reflections, I sort of detailed the day-to-day happenings. So we usually started off with yoga, excuse me, and then, excuse me, wow, wow. And then we had breakfast, and then we had a lecture. So that's generally how the day went. And then some sort of activity after, whether it's using the concrete for the bottle for the bottle things, or the actual metal structure, or deploying them and diving. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed the whole experience because it really opened my eyes as to because Koh Tao in itself is a small island, but there are still a lot of people, especially tourists, that come through it, and to see the amount of ecological damage that sort of small amount of people is causing, small relative to the population of the Earth, right? And to see the type of damage they're causing, I'm trying to imagine that on a global scale. How much bigger the trash dumps are, how much more plastic we use, how much more degraded coral reefs are. Because Koh Tao, in a way, is somewhat lucky because thanks to all these sort of organizations and initiatives trying to help the coral reefs there, the reefs aren't taking as much damage. But I'm trying to think about coral reefs near cities or things like that, which are somewhat neglected, where there aren't as many initiatives to help save them, and the coral degradation is happening so much faster. Especially, for example, there was a statistic that in the Caribbean, uh, I believe, in the last 3 decades, the Caribbean has lost over 80% of its entire coral reefs. 80%. And that number is still growing, which is really frightening, considering the fact that not only coral reefs cover such a small percent of our oceans, but also the fact that they take care of so many of our needs. As far as fishing goes, tourism, reefs have incredible economic value. They have incredible ecological diversity. So it really opened my eyes as to the amount of damage such a small population relative to the Earth's population is causing, and really it's also like any changes or whatever you do to help, it won't be like it won't be sort of instantaneous. It won't be like a change from one day to the next. What really needs to be done is for like systems to be put in place so that because growing a coral reef is it's difficult and most times expensive, but also it takes time. It takes like years, maybe even decades, for a proper large coral reef to be able to grow. So you really need to sort of not only establish those reefs, but also take care of them and gather data. See what they need, see what they don't need, and it's really, if I really wish we could have stayed there longer, because I know that still with what we've done in about a year and a half or two, the impact will be very large because, excuse me, because we helped establish a new sort of ecosystem which will start growing, and more fish will be coming in, and it will also attract divers, and lessen the sort of pressures of diving on natural reefs. But it's still scary. I mean, just because I think after the first or second lecture, I ended up looking at pictures of coral reefs, sort of like then and now. So like I would say 1980 or something, and then 2015 or 16. And the difference is just huge. The amount of lost coral, the amount of lost life of organisms, it's insane. And something important also is, I learned that you don't have to be a marine biologist or an ecologist to help with saving corals. It's like you don't have to have a biology degree, or you don't have to have an ecology degree in order to help the environment, specifically coral reefs. You just, take part in programs such as the one we did last week. But the thing that probably wouldn't help as much is donating to initiatives, because not only do you not, like, you can read off their website to see sort of what they're about per se, right? But you can never really gauge how well or how unwell they use the money that you donate to them. And it's also just that sense of sort of personal engagement, which really sort of focuses. Uh, um, it's hard to say, because for me, I felt so much better actually doing the work, because I know that I made a difference at my own personal expense. Well, not expense. Expense is a strong word, but I can't, for lack of better words, that's what I'm going to use. At my own personal expense, I actually did the work, and I persevered through it. We all collaborated through it, and I honestly think that the reefs will turn out better for it. So, excuse me. So again, the coral reef loss is a very big global problem because with our ever industrializing, sorry, with our ever increasing amount of newly industrialized countries and emerging economies, they bring all sorts of environmental and ecological problems to our planet, especially yeah, so to do with the environment. And I only think that I remember one of our instructors, Kirsty, was saying, you should let the corals do what they do naturally because Mother Nature never intended for humans to interact with it. But then I remember her saying, sorry, that was a comment that she frequently got. But then she said, yeah, but Mother Nature never took into account human beings, causing all this pollution or causing all these ecological and environmental issues, such as global warming or coral bleaching or things like that, due to like ocean acidification, things like that. So it's really hard because, excuse me, even though there's so many dedicated people to making these reefs, our rates of consumption are ever increasing in terms of food, water, electricity, land consumption, forest degradation for our own needs. And as most of the world goes into the new global middle class, we have more and more people have more and more disposable income available, which means that consumption rates also end up going higher. And that since consumption rates increase, yada yada yada, pollution increases, things like that, and that in turn has a very harmful effect on coral reefs. So I find it only ethical for us to help nature as much as we can, because even though there are all these amazing initiatives and non-governmental organizations which do their best to help, there's only so much they can do, because if we don't collaborate as an entire human population, which I know is a bit much to say, but in an ideal world, nature will only be able to restore itself not only over a long period of time, but only through, I guess you could say, a decrease in our population, but also an increase in our amount of collaboration to help the environment, or the amount of people involved. Because that's going to be the tough part, creating systems in which we don't have to rely so much on the environment for necessities such as food, water, and electricity, which again is probably impossible, but still. And making sure people follow those for a long period of time. For example, if we take tuna, tuna, or no, sorry, salmon. We used to fish salmon as big as, we used to fish really huge salmon, like huge. But today we fish salmon that are maybe a third of the size, and that's because of our ever-increasing consumption needs and things like that. But if I would relate that back to coral, because of our increasing consumption needs, coral bleaching is happening. More and more people are diving into oceans to look at the corals, but they're actually damaging them, and things like that. So we really need to take care of our planet as much as possible, because if we don't, it will probably lead to like some apocalypse of sorts. But it will definitely have major negative effects, like more negative effects on our society, on our environment, which would then sort of extend to our society, causing it. Honestly, it could cause potential wars, because if our consumption rates are increasing but the supply is decreasing, then that means prices will increase, and then availability also will decrease, and those prices will increase even more. So it will end up in a fallout. But there's only so much we can do as of now. But it was a very enjoyable time. I honestly wish I could have stayed there longer, because if I had, I think I could have just learned so much more at the feet of the masters, so to speak. So yeah, this has been my final reflection for my Koh Tao service trip. It was truly a pleasure. I just want to thank all the all the instructors there, Elle, Emily, Kirsty, Spencer, the staff there, but especially Mr. Bethune and Mr. Nick, who helped make this trip possible, and all the NIST staff involved. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. This has truly been an eye-opening experience, and I really hope to be able to participate in something like it again, and to sort of carry that on in the sort of rest of my life. So yeah, thank you very much. It was awesome having this experience with you guys, and this is me signing off. Bye.